What's an oh crap moment where you realized you've been doing something the wrong way for years? I owned a light blue colored microwave for about 3 years that a family member gave me for a housewarming gift. I thought it was cool, never saw a blue microwave before. One night, a buddy asked why I never took the blue plastic wrap off my microwave, then proceeded to peel it off for me. Dang, that thing is silver. Still miss my blue microwave sometimes though. So wait, was the whole thing wrapped in plastic all the way around it then? After moving to a new city, I went to the laundromat and a Korean lady working was yelling at me about something I couldn't understand. After some pantomime, it became clear that she was upset that I was putting in the wrong detergent, but it was the same kind I've been using for 8 years, since moving away to college and behind. Turns out I've been washing my clothes with only fabric softener for nearly a decade. They always smelled so good I never really thought about it. Not my proudest moment. Well hey, if your clothes come out the way you like them, then I don't see any need to change unless it's just destroying the washing machine. My family always had a cup next to the bathroom sink in case you needed to rinse your mouth after brushing your teeth, or maybe get a quick drink of water in the middle of the night. My grandma had the same cup at her house. I used it for years whenever I was thirsty. One day she saw me doing this and said, "Don't use that cup, that's where grandma puts her teeth." I thought it was bad enough that when I'm brushing my teeth and I leave that cup on the counter full of water, my cat goes and dips her paw into it and starts drinking out of it. When I was a kid, I was told that the paper that came on cupcakes and muffins was edible. I would spend a decade eating them like this, paper and all, until a friend pointed it out. Do you also eat bananas and oranges with the peel on them too? Did you ever stop to think that maybe that wasn't the best part of the food? I do remember though growing up with a big dog, and I would try to let her lick the muffin wrapper, but she would just eat the whole thing. I used to fill the kettle by the spout. My parents have always done it this way. I thought the center part was mainly for decoration, but not functional. I don't know why I never questioned this. One day I bought a new tea kettle, and my husband was like, "What the heck is inside this?" And with great ease, opened the center to pull out a manual with instructions and whatnot. I was drinking dirty paper water for like 2 weeks. Wow, we're only 6 stories in and we've already come across 2 people who've been eating paper. I used to pull my pants down all the way at the urinal. Yeah, I think a lot of boys did that up until the age of like maybe 5 or 6. If you ever walk into a bathroom and there's little kids in there, you might see that sometimes. I found out I was lighting incense wrong. My boyfriend and I got a bunch to add to our collection of nice smells, and we would light them and we would just start a little inferno. Convinced we were buying cheap, garbage incense, we stopped using them. I proceeded to buy a different brand in hopes that those would work. I test light and the same thing, it just goes up in an inferno. My roommate informs us you are supposed to blow them out once they catch. Oops. Nah, they're supposed to be just indoor sparklers. They're not supposed to last very long. On the topic of sparklers though, it's really cool if you have like a whole bundle of them. If you light them all together, it'll get so bright that it'll burn your eyes and just cause this huge flame. I always thought eggplant tasted itchy. Like itchy was a flavor. Like sour or salty. I fed some to my baby and his face turned red wherever the eggplant touched. And I realized we're both just allergic to eggplant. And itchy isn't a flavor. That's kind of how I feel with carbonation. Like, I see everyone drinking soda all the time, yet, like, one bit of carbonation touches my tongue and it just burns so bad. So I'm just like, why does anybody like this stuff? One day I used the key fob to remotely start my dad's car. It was an, oh crap, moment for him. 2 years and he didn't realize he had this handy little function. Yeah, sometimes you get into such a routine habit that you don't even think to try and figure new things out. I didn't find out that I was supposed to punch out for lunch until my 3rd job. Even then, it was because a coworker mentioned it in passing that they were clocking out for lunch. Well, it looks like you accidentally made plenty of extra money. But I'm pretty sure that some jobs don't actually require you to clock out for that. Not mine, but my dad has been spelling his name wrong his whole life. And he's 51. His name is Jeffrey, and he's been spelling it like that since he learned how to spell his name. A few months ago, my mom pulled out his birth certificate, and we all learned it's actually spelled Jeffery. Not sure if he spells it correctly now, but it was definitely an oh crap moment for him. I don't know that you would actually run into any major issues like that. I guess if you've got like legal documents that you've written your name wrong or like your driver's license, then maybe that could cause some problems in the long run. But I don't think that your parents are gonna come after you like, we've given you a very specific name and you've completely desecrated it. My wife and I have this ceiling fan / light in our bedroom in the house we moved into 2 years ago. It has a remote control for the fan and lights. About 1.5 years ago, the lights suddenly stopped working. The fan works well, and we didn't have a ton of money, so we just lived with the lamps in the room, always being frustrated with how dark it is. I was scrolling some other thread a few weeks ago, and the top post was a guy talking about how his lights stopped working years ago, and then he found out that it was just dimmed, which you do by holding down the button on the remote. It sounded so much like our fan, and we went and tried it. Dimmed. But hey, now you got to fix your light for free. Living in a foreign country where I was actively learning the language, social cues go a long way when learning a language on the spot. That being said, someone once said a phrase to me while serving a hot dish, which I assumed as meaning, excuse me. After going through crowds and lines, replicating the same phrase in an attempt to be respectful of those around me, I abruptly found out that the phrase actually meant enjoy. Hindsight completely makes sense. The odd looks I was getting by saying enjoy while squeezing past people all of a sudden made sense. I'm trying to think of a sentence where it would make sense both ways, whether you said enjoy or excuse me, but I can't think of any good ones, so comment something for me. Not because I've been doing something wrong my entire life, but saw it wrong. I'm colorblind, and my entire life I thought peanut butter was green until I turned 19. And when I found out it was brown, my mind was blown. It took so long because no one really talks about the color of things like that. Yeah, if your peanut butter is actually green though, you should probably throw it away. For years I would struggle to take the cap off of new deodorant. It was always so stuck down on the deodorant stick. I had an aha moment a year or so ago that I could simply crank the deodorant stick up until the cap could easily be removed. I'm 34. It took me until age 34 to realize this. For a second I thought that he was just applying the deodorant while it still had the cap on it. I'm like, I don't know that that's gonna do much. When I first got a debit card and would go out to eat at restaurants with my friends, I would leave a cash tip on the table. When I got the receipt to put how much I was paying, I would write down how much money I left on the table. For at least 6 months I gave double tips to every waitress I had. Well, I'm sure they all really liked you afterwards. My mom refused to show me how to use a tampon because she thought I should stick to pads because they were safer. This was back when Googling how to do things wasn't an option, and I was the first in my friend group to get my period, and a little sheepish about it. So basically I was shoving that sucker up there with the entire applicator for like 2 years, wondering why tampons didn't seem to work that well for me. It wasn't until I was in high school, and one of my friends went on a crusade against plastic waste, and started advocating for tampons with no applicators, that all of a sudden I realized I had massively messed up. You know, it's times like this where I can just sit back and enjoy being male. My mom has been pronouncing Massachusetts for years, and no one corrected her because they thought she just had strong feelings about Massachusetts. Man, I feel like if you keep saying the word over and over again, you're inevitably gonna come out with that pronunciation anyway. My name is Ryan. It took me until I was in first grade to realize my name wasn't in the alphabet. My mom had told me my name was in the alphabet, and I felt so lucky. She obviously meant the letters to spell my name were in the alphabet. But nope, it took that long to realize the alphabet didn't go W, X, Ryan, Z. Yeah, it would be a little weird if there were letters in the alphabet that were multiple letters. But hey, W doesn't seem to follow that rule. That you do, in fact, need to disassemble your laundry dryer and clean the lint out from underneath the drum once per year. I'm 31 and never knew this. No one ever said anything, and never saw anyone do this. Crappiest thing is that my parents also learned this the hard way and never bothered to give me a tip when I bought my first dryer. Luckily, the wife and I discovered the lint buildup when changing the rollers. I said to my parents, "Wow, it really builds up in there." And they were like, "Oh yeah, you need to do that like once a year." What? Okay, so dryers and furnaces are both heat-producing machines that build up so much dust that they can basically combust on themselves if it gets out of hand. You know, maybe we should be checking our ovens and microwaves and toasters also for a bunch of dust buildup. So I had always assumed that gas stations had pipes that led to a nearby oil plant or something. I live in Houston, so during Hurricane Harvey in 2017, there was so much news about the gas stations being empty because they weren't being filled. I was in the car with my sisters, and we were talking about it, and I mentioned I don't understand how the gas supply was limited when the pipes are underground and not affected by flooding. They both looked at me with the most confused faces ever, and one of them said, "You do know that the trucks come to fill up the gas stations, right?" And I was completely shook by this, and had no idea. And they asked me, "So when you see the big trucks at little gas stations in the city with the tubes in the ground, what do you think they were doing?" And I replied, "Filling up their gas?" Not something I did wrong, but definitely something I thought wrong for 17 years. Yeah, I've definitely thought that before too. I mean, it is kind of crazy that one truck full of gas can supply a whole station that just fills so many cars. You'd think that they would run out sometimes. Well, this was a few years ago. I was the director of IT for a very large company. I was given a new cell phone and told to set up my voicemail. I don't know that when I recorded my name, it would be played to whomever I leave my voicemail for. Well, the name I recorded was Duder84, Corporate IT God. I worked there for 4 years until someone in the hallway referred to me as the Corporate IT God. I was so embarrassed. I mean, hey, I finally learned to set up my voicemail for the very first time just a couple months ago. And I gotta say, I hate every time a voicemail comes in. But anyways, what do you guys think? Is there something that you've just recently learned that you have no idea how you never figured it out until now? I feel like once you move out of the house for the first time and you have to support yourself, there's a long list of things that suddenly start coming to you that you start to figure out. Or sometimes people just continue doing them wrong forever.